But do you remember when you yourself had your first drum kit?
Well, the first year of junior high school.
That must be around 66.
Yeah. 65 maybe.
Okay.
They had seen that I was turning this white chair a bit red. So they said, we'll get snare drum. You can have summer lessons on a snare drum. And if your grades improve, they'll get me a kit. They'll buy me a drum set. And lo and behold, my grades improved a lot. Just the drumming is a grounding process. And if I can start my day with a couple hours of having the time to do it and go through slowly and methodically these basic things, I have a better day. And
A couple of hours.
yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes, you know, I can't control other things. If I don't sleep well that night, I mean, and discipline as the process of how you apply yourself, but also the process of how I weed out turbulence inside of my playing and commit to this moment where I am accompany this moment but open up for the possibility of how it goes, what's next, but also to go through my George Marsh studies and recently I set my alarm for spend 20 minutes on the press roll, spend 20 minutes on it, then go through Marsh studies and metrical studies, and then see what I feel, and try to work every day on the three rolls. I don't get to do it. I don't get all the way to the The single stroke is a uniquely hard thing to practice. It sounds great, but I need to work on that much more.
But when you had your first drum kit, you explained you had lessons, snare drum lessons. But when did it start to integrate, if I may say it like that? When did it start to become full drumming? It's not the good phrasing, because on a snare drum playing is also full drumming. But when did you start playing a kit?
Well, this must have been when I was 13.
Yeah.
There was a stage band, a jazz band in junior high school. But we were playing military studies then. It was, but then big band in the last 3 years of high school.
Okay. And you also learned to sight read then?
No. I still need to work on being a better reader and getting more out of the first time I see charts. It's something I'm working on. But then it was I just swept up by how fun it was, and also then to play with other groups, and then I had more fun when we had more space to improvise.
What strikes me always when I talk myself with American musicians or originated in America, or well, that often they had a lot of music on in their education and in school. That's a very big difference with here in Holland, I think.
And historically, Reagan became governor in the 70s. So after I left, so maybe 5 years after I finished high school, the big band disappeared from the high school curriculum.
When Reagan became...
Yes, because he Proposition 13 was voted for, and the people with money wanted to pay less taxes. So take money out of the schools, take money out of the parks, take money out of education, take money out of garbage, take money out of libraries, and give it to the rich.
When he became governor for California, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when was it that you went to New York?
In 77.
77. Okay, then it's a lot of years later, of course.
Yes. Yeah. I had an infection in my nose and a surgery that was described to me afterward as coming pretty close to dying. And at that point in the recovery room, and then afterwards on the couch with my dad, who was the anesthetist during this surgery, telling me that to get the effects of morphine out of my body, you have to push yourself. You can't just sit on the couch and watch television. You have to get your blood going and get back into shape after that. But my motivation to go back to junior college, and I was out for several weeks, and during the whole thing emotionally, being in a hospital and having headphones, and the music became much more important to me.
Okay. And when was this?
I was 19, so this was
73.
Yeah. And so it took me 5 years to graduate with my 2-year degree from junior college. I also there was this piano player who had a gig in a hotel, and he knew Charlie Parker and could tell these sort of stories, and he had this gig of drums and piano. So for 5 weeks, I had this gig with him. I'm proud of that. I figured out this hotel. We played till like 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 in the morning. But then where the drums were and the piano was open. I mean, the guy says, if you want to use it, I mean, you have to get out at 6 o'clock in the morning when the staff comes to the kitchen. So it was like 3 straight weeks that I could finish my gig at 2. I could have a sandwich and then practice from 2 to 6 in the morning, and then sleep till like 2 in the afternoon. There was a swimming pool there. I'd go swimming, have breakfast, and then I could warm up in my room and practice, and then by 9 o'clock be ready to play again. And the romance of the practicer has always been an issue for me, because you'd walk by the room, or I'd be sitting there in reverie listening to my brother play piano. Maple Leaf Rag, he could play. He didn't play the C and the D sections, but or hear him play the blues. I mean, so this is. And then when I left home, almost invariably live with other musicians, and I just love that feeling with the guy that he's in his other room practicing. And so this sort of issue of the romance of the practicing, or getting this space. But I think I was like 35 or so, mid-30s, before I realized I could be much more efficient with how I practice. And discipline about it too. You know, get it, you know, work on it, because it's a funny thing. While you're doing it, it doesn't feel like you're getting any closer to it, except when I fast. Then while I'm sitting there, then I can feel like I'm getting close to it. I feel like the mental obstructions to get in closer to that swing of that melody seem to fall away when I'm fasting. But when I'm not, it's only that the next day or next week I can feel like I've gotten closer, or I will feel the effects of practice once I stop practicing and just listen to the world around me, because I can hear the playground or the events. One thing about working on music is you're working on how you hear things. You're working on the accuracy of how you hear things. So then I go into a random environment, and I'm hearing how these things work together, and it brings a smile to my face. Also, if I spend more time on the piano, which is the last 10 years or so, I try to do that. Then I will hear the melodies inside of a conversation, or a door closing, or the neighbors unloading lumber. These great and these resonant log drums, but they're just falling down. This famous Misha story, a metal trash can bounces on the ground, and what is that chord?
Yes. There was this pianist you told about that organized the gig in the hotel.
Yeah.
Do I understand well that that was on the verge of you getting from California to New York?
No, that was just. I'm realizing it now that keep my antenna out for different musical contexts, and do something musical every day. You practice, but also do some music with other people every day. Different kinds. That's good. But so to make, I wasn't thinking that then. I was thinking that this guy asked me. He saw me play, and he asked me if I could do that, and sure, I would like to do that. I mean, a highlight of my youth musically is playing with my brothers, and then Michael Moore again was in town, and he had the hippest jazz band in town, so I would go to hear them play.
When was this?
71.
Okay. So you knew Michael already then?
Yeah. I'd met him earlier, and he'd come to a sort of jam with my band that deteriorated into several of the players just drinking too much to make any. And I remember he sort of shrugged and said, "Well, maybe next time." And I'd seen him play, but he was playing keyboards in this band, and they were fun to listen to. So I would go down and listen to them, and eventually I got to sit in and had a great time. I felt the music take off. I got my so the number came to an end, and I stood up, and Michael says, "Sit down." later he explained he was having problems with the rigidity of the previous drummer. And so that drummer said he was going to move to the Bay Area, so would I like the gig? Yeah. And I can remember, I took it seriously. And so I had this cassette of the numbers that the band was going to do. And I remember studying it. And one specifically is that I took the bass line, but it was an eighth note off from where I thought it was. And I can remember, so this band existed for like a year and a half, where we were playing 4 nights a week.
Where?
In Eureka.
Yes, but what kind of place?
Well, there was a fish and chips place.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and
So you were playing while people were eating?
and first it was Tommaso's, and that Tommaso was a local character who started out with like almost a little trailer house, and therein he made these pizzas and calzone and salads, and then he got this place and he thought, okay, we'll have a band there, and so this this joint session was the name of the band, and the 4 nights a week from 9 to 2. Like 2 sets for eating, so sort of more demure jazz, and then 2 sets for dancing.
And was it also own material, or was it standard sort of?
Michael was bringing in stuff, and the tenor player Bob Grieve and the bass player Richard Saunders was bringing in stuff. Then halfway through this period, a guitarist from Los Angeles came up. His name is Nick Kiergo, and so he would bring in tunes, and okay, we'd play Herbie Hancock songs and other Ornette Coleman, and Michael was pretty good at keeping the book lively. Yeah. And I remember I just saw the concert. Ray Drummond was in town. And he came and sat in with us. And I remember, oh my God, just the lift and the power. And also important, Captain Beefheart, Tom Van Vliet, lived further up north. And he came in and heard us. And I got to, you would see him around occasionally, a very extrovert and always an interesting person to talk to. I remember he came up to me and said, "That's a great shirt. Yeah, that's a great shirt. You buy 10 of those shirts and you don't have to think about shirts anymore." And I was going, wow. I still go, wow. And
did he like your music?
He was, he sort of go, it was, yeah, it's cool. But, it didn't have enough oomph for him. Yeah. And I'm listening to it and it didn't.
But he told you that.
No, he had a beer and he sort of shrugged and said, "It's okay." He didn't say, "I want to sit in." No. Tomorrow night.
But is it also true that he also, because I've read in the book of John French, that they sometimes went together to concerts and so, was he sometimes with John French?
Not that I saw. No. And he didn't come in specifically, he was just in the neighborhood and saw there was going to be music, and he kept in the back of the room, and the conversation was livelier if I asked him what he was doing. And I remember the Bongo Fury, the Zappa record with Terry Bozzio's emergence on that scene, and I said, how was the new drummer? Yeah, he was fine. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, it was good.
So you knew his music also then?
Yeah.
Did you know Trout Mask Replica? In that?
Yeah, that's the first one. But yeah, I as applies to so much music that I could have heard more of. The Meters, for example. Yeah. It's only later that I heard, oh man, I wish the missed opportunities of going to that, or just going to Van Vliet's house and saying, hey, there must be something here that you don't want to do right now, that a person with energy could apply themselves. Can I help you, sir? Can I clean gutters or whatever? You know, time is a funny thing, and retrospectively, I heard that later, toward the end, his alcoholism took over, and he was less fun to be with. But if you've seen his paintings and are entranced as I am by the image and the title, he's still an artist at combining words with a new freshness, and he set a very high standard.
Did you also like the drumming on, for instance, Troutma's replica, because it's so very peculiar and specific? Very original, I think.
Fresh.
Absolutely.
Concise. Yeah. Invitational. Here again, these are now. Hal Wilner was responsible for getting Don Van Vliet on the A&M record. So the Ice Cream for Crow, Bat Chain Puller, and
Dock at the radar station.
Now when I go back, I listen to those more than Troutma's replica. But in the collection of missed opportunities, there is Captain Beefheart's oft said missed opportunity that Stravinsky invited him for lunch, and while he was working on Troutma's replica, he didn't go do it, and it was too late. And so I realized, okay, everybody's got missed opportunities, and I shouldn't beat myself over the head with mine. I should actually embrace them and figure out how I can miss the next opportunity, to embrace each opportunity.
Were you also into Frank Zappa then?
More than Beefheart, earlier. But I think I'm still into Zappa. Here again, a tree is best measured when it is fallen. That was said about Lincoln, and so, but still said about Zappa, to collect the stuff that I really love of his, and to distance myself from his isolation, really. I mean, there's a film of him smoking and saying, "Tobacco is my favorite vegetable." I'm going, that's deeply wrong. But it's a portrait of isolation. He had nobody to tell him, "Frank, you're going to kill yourself." Think of other people. We need your concise intelligence inside of music. Oh, especially now. Son of Orange County, the out chorus. "I cannot believe that you're such a fool. I just can't believe you're such a fool." We need that now more than ever. But now it's on our shoulders, and we can do our best to find a fresh way of saying what needs to be said now. But I saw Zappa do Billy the Mountain and
Flo and Eddie.
Yes, and Ainsley Dunbar, and Don Preston, and I'll never forget that. And I was telling people, because I watched the technician come out and start unplugging the microphones, and he looked off stage where I could see that Zappa was, and Zappa said, "No, leave him on." And so, but we couldn't get him out for a third encore. He came out and did 2 encores, and fantastic. But Beefheart, I saw him here in the Paradiso in '84 and
80.
80.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, I trust you. with a heckler. That
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Doc at the radar station. He was touring that,
Yes.
and that was sublime. But and here again, this is a live music portrait, and to go see live music, you're never quite sure it's going to give you that buzz. But if it does give you that buzz, sometimes that buzz can last for days, and that's a precious buzz.
I would like to move now to the New York period. It was in '77.
77 to 79.
Yeah. What made you go to New York?
Well, it was time to go. My either leave where I grew up, Humboldt County, and go to the Bay Area, or New York. And Michael Moore again had just graduated from his conservatory and had a place. He had a place in New York. So I called him up and said, "Can I sleep on your couch?" And he said, "Man, I didn't know you were even thinking about that." Yeah. So.
Because Michael studied in New York.
No, he studied in Boston. New England Conservatory of Music.
Okay, yes. And did he also could arrange gigs then already?
Yeah, but he was also just new to New York, and it takes a while before you get yourself. So we did a couple gigs there, and the ones I did remember that he set up is the summer of '78. He went to Holland. He came to Holland, since we're in Holland. I'll say he came to Holland, and sent me postcards from Italy, and so I remember this typical New York moment. So I'm reading this postcard of how much fun he's having in northern Italy, and wish you were there. And it's August in Manhattan, and it's really hot and really humid, and I didn't have air conditioning. I couldn't afford it, but so then that fall he brought Ernst Reisiger to Manhattan. We made a group. We made a recording, and we went to Boston. We played the Ear Inn, where that great Derek Bailey Ciro Baptista duet was recorded. That's the Ear Inn. And on the strength of that tape, Ernst got us some gigs in Holland for the summer of '79.
Okay.
Where I did come and had my mind blown by the enthusiasm for the Dutch scene for improvised music and music in general.
I hope we talk about that absolutely, of course. But maybe one question. Maybe this question should belong in the California part. I don't know. But I read somewhere that you also worked with Dyke Parks.
That was in Holland.
Was it in Holland?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and that's. I was really excited about that. I worked hard, and I left my notes for the entire book on my stand at home, and I drove to Den Haag for the gig, and I didn't have my notes. So in my notes were all tempo markings, sticks, brushes, approaches to the song. So here again, I wish I was more consistent. But great rehearsal, and man, his music is pretty special.
What kind of project was that?
I don't know. Someone wanted to get Dyke Parks here, and I got a call to do it. Then it was with because I was also working with Maurice Horsehouse strings ensembles at that point, yes. And I just love that sound. What what a group of strings together does for the accuracy of certain melodic phrasing and just how they play together. So, yeah, that's one evening I wish I had another shot at. But more recently, Jeff Moldauer, I got invited to play on a couple rehearsals and a recording thing of his, and his is also that this is someone who's deep, and I didn't get a call back after that recording. I just and I didn't. My mind has gone back to that several times too. Like, just, wow, I want to get that. I want to get that to swing deeper, softer, crunchier. But these things that I can now incorporate every day in the music I get to do.
But if you do projects with people like Van Dyke Parks and Jeff Moldauer, do they instruct you or give you complete freedom?
Oh no. It's about, and here too, I love to have the possibility of the momentum of the narrative, and then I like to have the rest of the band that the narrative moves around. But in that case, you really need to be very specific and just find a focused underlying structure that supports that piece, and as fresh and singular as you can about it. I'm working on some other. Lily Chiara has a project that I'm looking forward to do, and I've been working with her for a while, and I've known her for a long time. She was a dancer, and still is, and so that sort of singer-songwriter vocabulary, but make it fresh. Yeah. That I love that. But these two elder statesmen, Van Dyke Parks and Jeff Moldauer, that sort of opportunity doesn't come around that much.
Well, I asked the question about Van Dyke Parks and didn't know if it belonged to California or not, but now we're ahead in time and I want to go back a little bit, still to New York, because, well, of course, you worked with John Zorn there.
No, not while I was there.
Okay, oh, I thought so.
No, and I don't think I really even accidentally discovered the core of what I'm working on until I got to Holland.
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Moore has helped me to find that by exposing me to all these different musics, and I start to get to stuff with the Persons and No Mo Fo trio before that, and Zorn asked me to work after he had heard the Tristan Holsinger, a group that produced Picnic, and the Altena group.
Well, I know that you, with being a member of Altena, did that project with Zorn in Holland.
Right.
Yeah.
But Zorn invited me to do the Spy versus Spy thing, the Ornette pieces. Yeah. That was before that.
Okay, yeah.
So I was playing with Matilda Santing in her group also. Yeah. And but so, yeah, and I saw Cobra early. This is mind-blowing. Yeah. What is this? But here again, this freshness keeps being an adjective of an essence that I keep looking for. Yes. That turns me on.
But, well, For a moment again, to go back to that New York period, it didn't take that long because you moved to Holland, of course. But was it there that you and Michael, of course, became member of Dog Troop?
Dog Troop happened early for me when I came over. I thought that's cool, and I went to, but no, Dog Troop was later. We were a lot of things happened in mid '80s. I started to have a place where I could practice. And I started sort of getting deeper on what a personal approach to the drums could mean. I'm not at all there yet, but I'm realizing that place does exist, and if I could do the work to get closer to it, well, this is the challenge that I'm setting for myself for these next years.
Yes.
Dog Troop. I saw a performance in the Milky Way and I thought it was wonderful.
Okay. So Dog Troop was something that originated in Holland.
Yes.
Okay. Because you came to Holland for Festival of Fools, isn't it?
Peripherally, we were the No Mo Fo trio. Did participate in the Festival of Fools in Berlin, and I still remember that gig is with Giorgio Pizzo and Jack Malay, who are two clowns. They're also from America, and to go on stage with them and Michael Moore and Ernst Reisiger and improvise and make things. And my connection with Michael was pretty strong then, and Ernst is a powerful free agent. And I remember we were in front of 1,000 people. We were opening the second set of sort of an indoor Festival of Fools performance. And a man that had been drinking too much couldn't stand it any longer. And he thought, this looks so beautiful that I want to join in. And he comes on stage, and I thought that's an appropriate time to show people how to juggle cymbals. And so I had a collection of 5 or 6 cymbals, and I wasn't catching them, and they were landing very loudly, and I thought beautifully on stage. And this intoxicated person who came up to join thought, I don't want to play that game, and he sort of bowed and left the stage. And so then I was in the middle of a throwing, splashing cascade of cymbals. And okay, I brought that to a close. And there was a moment of silence and a murmur of applause. And then I remember Giorgio picked up a glove, put it on, and started walking around stage. And there were both Michael and Ernst had picked up a melody with this, and I thought, oh, let's do that. So I'm trying to point at anecdotes where inside of my own head, certain dogmas could collapse, and other thoughts about freshly getting to a new moment and having that lifting up that moment and looking at it and seeing how that's going to go. I'm going, oh my God. So I did this summer in Holland, and then I went back to New York to do what I did there, which is, go to concerts and wash dishes and do various day gigs and play dance classes. And one oft-repeated New York story is where I went to a session in New York, and I walked in, and my breath was just taken by this drummer who was sitting there, and I thought, damn, every taxi driver and every short order cook is like just an amazing musician. I was very relieved to find out that that was Danny Richmond who was holding court during that session, because he was just lights out, fantastic. Just, it's like, how do you sit down after that and play? But so this is a portrait of me being scared too, coming to New York, not getting my feet on the ground, making mistakes, losing shit, not focusing the daily practice, ground myself, work on the music. But I was in my, this is...
And all this time, I presume, playing with Michael more?
We did a lot of playing, but he did other playing, and he had his territory staked out, and I couldn't keep up with him, because he's very accurately analyzing the Wednesday Village Voice, finding free concerts, and I would go with him. And I remember seeing Dizzy with Mickey Roker. It was like free and a dazzling performance, and Mickey Roker's a really special drummer. And I'm gearing up to have that mentality for myself in New York City. Where can you go to get the charge?
If I'm well informed, the end of the 70s, or the second part of the 70s, you had the so-called loft scene in New York. So, for instance, Ornette Coleman, but other players, Don Cherry, I think.
Ornette was gone there, but we did. Michael had a gig in Studio Rivby. And so, yeah, we did sort of get to a bit of that and listen to the music of that. It was, I thought its high water mark was the 75, but I talked to several friends who visited their apartment, and oh my God, this gorgeous, huge space. How'd you find that? Yeah, it was factory space and converted.
And he once was beaten up in that place, I think. Ornette, I'm talking about. He had a very large building over there. I never been there, but I've read about it. And I saw a documentary.
On 10th Street, he had a place, and on Prince Street. But
you have never been there, or
No.
saw the opportunity to play there?
No.
Was that a very open or closed scene?
See, I don't know. I mean, there were so many scenes. When I lived there, I had a job washing dishes in Washington Square Park for the sort of university cafe there. And that finished at 11, and then I could go listen to music. So pass by Sweet Basil and say, oh, Eddie Moore's playing. And then, wow, that's cool. Or Arthur Blythe was playing. And I walked up to him and, wow, that fantastic song. What was the name of that? And he said, and I had to ask him like twice, and I still didn't, just the way he phrased that song. I had to find out. I couldn't tell what it was. And he it's amazing. Yeah. The song was Lower Nile, but what I heard him say was Lower Nile.
Is it a kind of a slang, or?
No, it was just a relaxed way of pronouncing it, but it's an illustration of, I could hear it, but what?
Language that is singing.
Yeah. And also an impatient listener that I was, wanting to get closer to something, but choosing the wrong way to get closer to something, like trying to identify it.
That's the wrong way?
Well, because it was a sort of a discontinuity, then he had to come out of his zone that he was in to give information to me. And because I didn't understand what he was saying, I asked for it a second time. And that's a discontinuity. And to get deeper in would just, I mean, now it's just, man, that's fantastic. When you, looking forward to your next set, gentlemen. Keep, and or come in and lift. At that moment, my nerves of talking to him, I think I was pulling down the energy. I wasn't lifting it, and maybe not.
But I suppose you have to learn it in that way.
Well, my once I went out for the school football team, and I'm thinking of this phrase that the head coach made, and he was trying to condense what it was, what is the artistry, and he said, you make mistakes of commission, not of omission. So we're going to make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes everywhere, all the time. But make them by doing things. Make them by exerting yourself, rather than not exerting yourself. That's an essential point for me. And coming back to, I have a story. My older brother, as older brothers are, illustrations of something that somebody can do that I can't do. And so he was always a better painter, a better musician, a better thinker, better at push-ups. But the end of high school mathematics test, I remember he got a 36 and I got a 36. He made no mistakes. Every question he answered, he got right. I made many mistakes, which took away from my total score. But my total score was still matched his. And so as an indication, I'm not him. He's not me. This is me. I make mistakes, and then later I go, oh man, wow. But this is me. And the goal is to go to the next time I get to play and not make those mistakes. I'm going to make other mistakes. Music is comparable to parenting. It's like you're going to make an infinite mistakes. And you can always do better with it. But to focus a regularity, focus on how to spend the time and how you are with your kids. The love of music and the love of your kids. There are some parallels here that as I get older, the philosophy to analyze things and compare things in this world that have similar depth and soul and are good places to put all of your love and soul in. But there are mistakes. There's just, I could have done that better.
They are a necessary part of it, I think.
Yeah. No, you can't do it without it. Excuse me.